How's it going, everybody? It's Pilot Flame, and we are back with another video, and today we're going to be looking at our triple captaincy choices for the remainder of the season. We're going to be looking at specifically game week 33 plus as well, but also some of the fixtures later on in the season. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So what are we looking for in a triple captain? Well, firstly, we're looking for someone who's had an explosive performance in a previous game week. Someone who's got like a real double-digit figure haul or looked very good on the eye test, got multiple assists, multiple goals, clean sheet and a goal, clean sheet and assist. Those sorts of things is what we are ideally looking for in a performance. We're also looking, like I said, for double-figure hauls. So somebody who is going to be scoring multiple goals, multiple assists, a clean sheet, lots of save points, whatever the position you may choose. We want them to basically max out their stats as much as they can in that particular game. And in that game, you want them to obviously have a great fixture. There are a few exceptions. As an example, like this week, Salah has Man City away from home in game week 32 plus. And typically he's done very well against Man City, even though statistically Man City is a very good team and they just would be very difficult for any player to play against. But Salah has just a good record against them, so it could be something that you kind of look into rather than just going on raw stats alone. So our first triple captaincy choice we have is Anthony Martial. He typically returns with mainly goals, as you can see by his stats to my left. He has 14 goals and 3 assists for 145 total points for the entire season. He is the cheapest current Manchester United player at 8.2 million in terms of their offense of the regular starters, and he has great fixtures coming up in the next few game weeks. Obviously, with him not, getting very many assists, only 3 this season, and he's typically not on set plays. He's not going to be taking penalties in front of Rashford, Pogba, or Bruno Fernandes, who's the current penalty taker. But he does show that he doesn't need much effort to score, which typically results in better underlying BPS stats, which obviously boost his score if you are triple captaining him. I think the fixtures that we should be looking for Martial would be Bournemouth at home, which is game week 33 plus fixture, and then the last one would be Aston Villa away in the game week 34 plus fixture. I feel that those are probably more beneficial for a striker of his caliber and his skill set, and I feel that it would just be the best possible place that if you wanted to triple captain Martial, you would do it in those 2 fixtures. Next, we have another Manchester United player in Marcus Rashford. He's a 9.1 million forward. He has the same points as Martial in 145, but he has 14 goals and 7 assists and has a 20.8% ownership and averages slightly more points than Martial because he's played 1 less game than he has. I think Rashford is potentially a better triple captaincy option strictly because he has multiple avenues to points. He's on set pieces, so typically long or more direct free kicks. Rashford typically can take them. He's also on penalties if Bruno Fernandes isn't on the field. And we saw towards the end of the Norwich game in the FA Cup when Bruno was starting to tire that Rashford was the one who, when he came on, was starting to take some of the corners. So we know that Rashford is typically quite good at those as well. The main thing is the long free kicks and the fact that he could be on pens if Bruno Fernandes is off the field. Or there's also speculation that Rashford might be just taking the next penalty, period. He always has, goals to add to his game. He hasn't scored as of yet since the restart, but he's done quite well in terms of like getting assists and getting involved. And he's always top of bonus the second he scores because of the amount of things that he does, even though he does get a lot of involvement with the ball. So much less like Mohamed Salah, he does have more successful dribbles. His passing is a lot better as well. So typically he's going to be higher on the BPS scores as well. So the fixtures that I'm kind of looking at it, if you were to have Rashford at the moment, will be his next fixture versus Bournemouth at home, much like Martial. Same with the Aston Villa game in game week 34 plus against Aston Villa away from home. But lastly, I think that Rashford's probably better suited also in the home fixture versus West Ham. I think West Ham would try to rough Martial up, and I even think Igalo could stylistically be a better choice in terms of like team selection going into that game. But I think that their fullbacks is where they would struggle a lot, and Rashford would be able to exploit that out on the left wing. Next, we have the Liverpool asset Sadio Mane. He's 12.5 million in midfield. He has 187 points and has scored 15 goals with 9 assists and is currently sitting at just under 25% ownership. He's always on bonus points. We saw that in Liverpool's 4-0 win over Crystal Palace, Salah had a golden assist and didn't receive bonus points. Mane scores once at the very end of the game, as he had a lot of underlying bonus stats, and he was able to pick up some bonus points there. He's obviously fantastic when it comes to goal involvement as well. Obviously a lot of assists, a lot of goals, and he always seems to be in the right place at the right time, and is quite explosive versus the right opposition. He's also very good in the air, which is something for a shorter player you wouldn't think that he'd be as good at, but he does find himself getting on the end of Trent Alexander-Arnold crosses from deep and kind of coming in around the back post and basically nodding them home. So I think the best possible fixture for him, if you were to triple captain him, would be in game week 33 plus, which is the next one, at Aston Villa at home. And I just think that Aston Villa are very bad at defending just set plays in general. So if you have the Trent and Mane double up, it could be quite a good week for you, especially if you triple captain Mane. And he could be on the end of a cross, score. He could end up getting a couple assists. And you're looking at max bonus points and a massive haul from Sadio Mane. Moving across to the other wing for Liverpool, we have the 12.6 million pound midfielder in Mohamed Salah. He has 197 points this season, 17 goals and 7 assists. So he has 2 more goals but 2 less assists than Sadio Mane. He's at 36.6% own and has a 7.3 average points per game. He obviously has just as good of fixtures as Mane, as they play on the same team. However, with Salah, you're kind of looking for at least goal assists to get bonus points, and even proven in their game versus Crystal Palace, that's not necessarily the case for him to guarantee bonus. He does try a lot of dribbles, he does misplace a lot of passes, so you're kind of looking for him to have a monster hole to kind of guarantee that he's top of the bonus points. Mainly a brace and assist or a hat-trick is what you're kind of looking for. But he does have that explosive potential and can be just that much more, overwhelming for teams to kind of deal with, just because he's more direct. Mane can kind of slip in behind, where Salah kind of more runs at the players, and Salah's kind of more hungrier for goals and gets more of the shots basically taken for the team. He's also he can be quite clinical. He can score a lot of goals, or he can score none, basically. So it's kind of that balance that you play. There are games where Salah will take 3 shots, they all go in, he looks fantastic, and he has high BPS. There's other games where he's fails at 5 dribbles, misses 3 shots, 2 of which are blocked, and then he scores 2. But he's not on BPS because of the previous underlying stats, which lowered his score previously. Another bright side of it is that he has penalties as well, so that could be a good and a bad thing, because obviously if he misses the penalties, it's terrible, but if he scores the penalty, it's quite good. And with James Milner not being on the pitch, he is the designated penalty taker. So I think, much like Mane, I think if you're going to triple captain Salah, game week 33 plus is the choice versus Aston Villa at home, and I think it's kind of a coin flip between him and Mane. I think Salah has the potential to be more explosive in terms of more returns, just because he's a little bit more involved on the final ball / on the end of the final ball to put it into the back of the net. And our last Liverpool player on the list is Trent Alexander-Arnold. He is a 7.8 million defender, as you probably all know. You probably had him in your teams all this time. He scored 187 points this season, 3 goals, 14 assists, 42.9% ownership, and averages 6 points per game. Now, he's one of the very few defenders that I would consider triple captaining, just because he has the potential to get a clean sheet and a goal with maximum bonus points, and then you're looking at a 15-point haul, which is exactly what you want out of a triple captain. His ownership is quite high, so obviously if you triple captain Mane and he did just as well as Trent, then Mane would probably get you a higher rise in terms of, just going up the ranks, mainly because if you had both Trent and Mane and you triple captain Mane, people are more inclined to obviously, triple captain the attacker, but since Mane's less owned than Trent is, it will affect your rank even more. I also think that Trent could be, just overall a good asset just going forward for the rest of the season. Much like Virgil van Dijk, they could just be mainstays in the team, even if they do start to rotate. You may see Trent, however, getting hooked off after 60 minutes, but as long as he stays on for the clean sheet, that's exactly what we want. So there is a risk there. But I think his just deep crossing from assists, just the assist potential from those deep crosses, whether it's a set play, open play, corners, all those sorts of things, he's just super lethal at, as well as his direct free kicks. He's obviously shown that he's very good at those versus Crystal Palace in their first goal that he scored. And I think the ideal fixtures for him would be game week 33 plus versus Aston Villa, much like Mane and Salah. But I also think that versus Arsenal in game week 36 plus is potentially a very, kind of misleading one, or one that may not necessarily seem good on paper, but it is good for Trent specifically because Arsenal are terrible at defending corners. They're also terrible at defending deep crosses or crosses from the wing, and it's just something that Trent's obviously a specialist at. And with the likes of Salah and Mane kind of getting on the end of those, you could see a massive points total in that game week. Our one and only City player on the list is none other than Kevin De Bruyne. He's currently priced at 10.7 million in the midfield. He's the first player to be over 200 points and currently sits at 201 points. He has 10 goals, 19 assists, so 29 goal involvements this season. He currently sits at 51.1% ownership and has a 6.9 average points per game. There's nothing more we can really say about Kevin De Bruyne. He's obviously an amazing talent, amazing player. His set pieces, his penalties, he seems lethal on everything. He has ridiculous goal involvement with 19 assists this season and scoring 10 himself. And I think that any fixture really could be a triple captaincy option for him. It's just a matter of whether or not he's going to play, because obviously Pep has shown that he's willing to rotate even the likes of Kevin De Bruyne. I would have put Aguero on this list, but obviously with him being out, obviously Jesus I don't fancy as much, because Aguero is obviously that has that potential to just get a hat trick whenever he starts, basically much like how Harry Kane was a season or two ago. And I think De Bruyne is obviously another option for City, as he's probably the most nailed on that you can get apart from Ederson. The fixtures I think that would probably benefit him the most would be the fixture away to Brighton, where in the reverse fixture he scored quite heavily in that. Bournemouth at home would be a very good fixture, as they are looking at relegation in game week 36 plus. And then game week 38 plus in the last game of the season, Norwich at home could be a very tasty fixture for the likes of Kevin De Bruyne to rack up that double figure haul. And last but not least, we have the only Chelsea player on the list, who's kind of a differential because of his lack of playing time, but I think his potential to do quite well in Marcos Alonso. He currently sits at 6.2 million as a defender for Chelsea. He is 80 points into the season. He has 4 goals, 3 assists. However, he's only played 13 games, which is why his stats are so low, and he only has a 3.7% ownership. He does average, however, 6.2 points per game over those 13 games and has pretty good fixtures up until the last 2 in the season. If you extrapolate his points and his goals and assists across the season, if he played all 31 games like Trent Alexander-Arnold has, he would have 191 points, 9 goals, and 7 assists if he was playing. I'm not saying that he would have done that constantly or more consistently than Trent would, because it would have put his points total above his, but you can see that Alonso's potential is definitely there. He was the kind of originator of the wing backs in terms of the way Antonio Conte played him in the system, where he was constantly in the box, basically alongside the likes of Diego Costa or whoever they had up front at the time, and was getting shots inside the box as a left wing back. It's just really crazy. His attacking threat is insane. He's also very good on set pieces too. He has a wand of a left foot, and he can just be very good in terms of just as an option on a dead ball, especially from the left side or the keeper's right side of the goal, and just kind of bending it up and over the wall around the outside of the post and just sneaking into the top corner. He obviously has the same potential as Trent to get a clean sheet and a goal from like a set play, and he ends up with just 15 points, and obviously that's a pretty massive haul, because if he keeps a clean sheet, gets a goal, most likely he's going to be on 2, probably 3 bonus points. So I think the one fixture that would probably make the most sense for him would be their Game Week 36 plus fixture versus Norwich, and that's the last fixture that I would probably think about just having Chelsea players in general, because they have 2 tougher fixtures to end the season in Liverpool and in Wolves. So that's probably the one I'm kind of looking at if you were to kind of go for a differential on a Chelsea player. Even the likes of Christian Pulisic or something like that could also be a factor as well, but I think that Alonso's explosiveness in terms of if he's played in the right system could be very beneficial for those looking to triple captain him. And that's going to do it for this video. Hope you all enjoyed it. Make sure to leave a comment down below as to who you're thinking about triple captaining if you still have that chip for the remaining game weeks. Make sure to like the video if you enjoyed it. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you're new. And make sure to turn those notification bells on so you know when our videos go live. Also, give us a follow over on Twitter and Twitch. It's PilotFlame226 on those platforms, so you can see when we post the videos as well as when we go live for our gaming discussions over on Twitch. That's going to do it. Hope you all enjoyed it, and until the next video, take care.